All right, so now we're going to make a dessert. I found this recipe in about a 40-year-old cookbook, and it's a peanut butter cookie that they roll out. They tell you to make the mixture, refrigerate it, an hour later roll it out, melt chocolate, spread it on top, roll it up, refrigerate it again, then cut it into pieces and bake it. Well, I don't know about you. If I'm making some cookies, I want to get them in the oven now. I don't want to be waiting 1-2 hours till all tomorrow to bake them. You know, I want them made now. Now's when I want them, not tomorrow. So I started to look at ways to change the flavor, which was really good, into an easier way. Plus the silly thing is, when you melt the chocolate and spread it, roll it up like a jelly roll, refrigerate it and then cut it, the chocolate's so hard that when you try to cut through the dough to the chocolate, it shatters, so you don't get a pretty looking cookie anyway, so why bother? So basically what I've done now is I've thrown all the ingredients in the bowl. So we've got flour, baking powder, a bit of salt, sugar, vanilla, egg and butter. And then I have half a cup of peanut butter here. Now I have the smooth peanut butter because my family won't eat the crunchy. If you want crunchy, go ahead and use crunchy. And I'm sure a lot of you have got those Wonder Cups that you put the peanut butter or Crisco in and you pop it out. But you're still going to get the stupid grease off those things. So what I do is a half cup measure. I've lined it with saran wrap. Just take it out, unpeel the saran wrap, and isn't that wonderful? You just throw the plastic away and the measure's virtually clean. Much easier, far prefer this. Now I'm going to beat this together, so obviously you're not going to hear me over it. To start with, it's a very dry mixture and doesn't seem to want to come together happily, but you keep at it and it does come into a nice creamy dough. Okay, so I'm going to start this and then you'll see. Back again, now I've turned that noise off. So you can see it's now a nice creamy dough, and if you saw this tiny clip, you'll see how dry it was when I started mixing it together. So it does take a bit of working. By the way, it has a tendency to go flying out the bowl anyway, so be aware of that. So I've got a nice creamy dough here. Now I had tried, whereas I said to you the original recipe had you melt the chocolate and spread it, I tried just sprinkling chocolate bits on it and rolling it up jelly roll. It didn't make any difference to just doing ordinary cookie scoops. So what I'm doing is, once a cup of chocolate, I went with the mini semi-sweet chocolate bits because I like the tininess of them. Then you seem to get far more chocolate spread throughout. So what I'm going to do, for a bit of colour, which makes them look really lively, I'm going to use half a cup of the mini semi-sweet M&Ms, which are really colourful, and then half a cup of the ordinary mini semi-sweet whatever morsels, but tiny ones, as you can see. Don't go for the big ones. I just like the small ones for this, and don't use those mini kissies, they're still far too big. There is out there a tiny chocolate, not quite as tiny as these minis, and it's milk chocolate and peanut butter combined, and I thought, oh, that'll be even better, you know, an extra burst of peanut butter flavor. Unfortunately, being a milk chocolate, whereas these are a semi-sweet, I think you have to then reduce the sugar, because to me it was that bit too sweet. So my recipe gives you a choice of quantity of sugar to use, because I find it was too sweet for me, but for those of you with kids, you probably want it sweeter. So you can see it's just looking now like an ordinary cookie dough, and I'm then going to put it onto my baking sheet. Now, if you remember, I frequently love to bake on my baking stone, but you can't always get enough cookies on a baking stone, which is a pain. And I found this is professional quality baking sheet that's very heavy, but it's dark. I still line it with these non-stick liners because it makes life easier for cleaning up afterwards. But because it's a dark liner, the cookie cooks up quicker from underneath and browns nicely. If you cooked it on a baking stone, it would still be quite uncooked looking underneath. So you have to know what sort of sheet you've got, because if you've got a thin metal baking sheet, even if it's not dark, it'll still cook up faster because the heat gets through. So you need to watch them. So what I'm going to do now is I have roughly a 2-scoop scoop, which is called number 40. And this is what I came up with. This is what I like doing. So I'm getting the 2-scoop. I'm going to drop it into, this is chopped honey roasted peanuts. I wanted the scrunch. So I'm just dropping the round of it in and pressing it down slightly. When I found I didn't flatten them, they came out too fat a cookie, and they weren't, I don't know, I just didn't like them as much. But it's down to you. Those of you that are used to doing cookies, you know exactly what you want to do. So I'm just doing that and just keep going. It makes about 4 dozen, which is a good figure. And I find I can get the 2 dozen normally on a sheet, but of course with flattening them, you don't get as many. Okay, so here's the first dozen ready to go into the oven, and you can see I've squished them down because I like them to bake up crispier. My husband likes them softer, but as I keep saying, I'm the one that's cooking, and we do get fed up doing exactly what the family wants the whole time. So these are going to go into the oven, definitely for 12 minutes, and then we look at them and see. You have no other choice but just to wait and see what happens with your oven. And ovens change each time, the batter changes each time, so it's just knowing your oven. Okay, so I'll put these in and then we'll come back in a few minutes. Well, I'm obviously eating one of the cookies, so I hope I haven't got any black bits on my teeth for you, but that shows they're good. You know what it's like, a cookie straight from the oven, there's nothing to beat it. Because half the time they go really crispy once they've cooled down, and they're nice when they're nice and soft and squishy. These were in a 350 oven, which is the normal temperature for most ovens for cookies, as you know. I realized doing the 2 tablespoon scoop that was quite well filled. This makes pretty big cookies, so you're only going to get like 2 dozen of these big fat ones out of it. So if you want to make them go round further, you obviously use a smaller scoop and make them thinner, but they're good. I love the intensity of the semi-sweet chocolate against the dough. I think milk chocolate to me is, and I have a sweet tooth, but milk chocolate in comparison would have been too sweet. And then I love the way the honey roasted peanuts have melded into the top of the cookie, and yet you still get that wonderful crunch. And of course with the M&Ms in there, you know what it's like to bite through the coating of those. They've got that nice scrunch on the outside. So I think you're all going to like these cookies, and as parents, mum or dad, you're going to enjoy how quickly they are to make, and there's nothing to stop the kids making them on their own or with you, as long as you take care of the oven, because these are so simple to make. You can make this with the ordinary mixing bowl and spoon, you don't need the electric mixer, but I think they'll really enjoy them. So till next time, take care, bye-bye. Okay, so this is the rest of the dough that I just put straight onto the baking sheet from the cookie scoop. Didn't flatten it, didn't put nuts on it at all. And you can see they've stayed in quite a rounded shape. They will obviously take longer to cook through where they're deeper, and they have cooked up to far browner underneath because of longer time in the oven, and they are far, far softer and will stay it. I quite honestly prefer them crisp, but it's purely down to you, but I just wanted to show you the difference in the flat ones with nuts or the rounded ones, so you can decide, do a batch of each or half the batch of each and see what you and your family like. They're still a really good cookie regardless of which way you do them. So, okay.